Hey, 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 I'm Michelle.
And I'm Greta.
We are girlfriends who have always been seekers. We love learning, sharing, and most of all, we love having those soul-to-soul moments with our girlfriends.
Our podcast is about spiritual connection and sisterhood. You are not alone. So grab your glass, get comfy, and join us as we make some noise, light up the room, and get into it. Today we have our very good friend, Joanie. She has been such an inspirational part of our friend group and just motivated us, especially during COVID. And she's also a badass chick pilot.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for you guys to hear her story as to how she even got started being a female pilot. So amazing. And of course, I love to start with quotes. That's just my thing. And I found this one, and it's actually from Amelia Earhart. And it says, everyone has oceans to fly if they have the heart to do it. Is it reckless? Maybe. But what do dreams know of boundaries? So when you hear her story and what inspired her, I think this quote will totally just resonate with everyone. And, you might have your own things that you're thinking about doing in your life, and let this inspire you. Let this show that there are no boundaries. There are no limitations.
We'd love to hear your story of how you even decided as a little girl, I'm going to fly those planes.
Okay. Thank you guys for having me. So I was, my parents are immigrants, and they came from the same place as Michelle's parents, which is one of the things we have in common, makes our friendship fun. So we used to go there to visit all the time. It's the Azores Islands, so it's a pretty far flight. And I was young. The first time I went, I was probably 3 years old. And I remember just loving being in the plane. My mom was terrified, but I was having a blast. And we went not every summer, but we went often enough that I flew on a plane a lot as a child, and I just loved it. And my dad would take me up to the cockpit, and I'd meet the pilots, and I'd look outside, and it was amazing. It's the best thing to me.
So no fear. You just were this little girl that was just like, this is super cool and awesome. Yeah. And then you just got to actually explore on the plane. So you got to see all the buttons. And
yeah, it was just really fun to me. And then I said at some point that I'm going to be a pilot, and someone said girls can't be pilots, because at that time it was mostly men. I mean, I was born in the 70s, so it was mostly men doing it. And when they said that kind of well, I don't think that's true, and I'm going to just prove everybody wrong.
Oh, I love that.
That was the first thing that
you're like, no.
Wait, that's a great line. I don't think that's true. I'm going to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah.
And you did.
Yeah. And so, as I got older, I still wanted to do that. And I had a friend whose mom was really into teaching us. She really was into school because she went to a very prestigious university, and she didn't get to finish what she wanted, but she really instilled in us as females that, you guys got to go follow your dreams, do what you want. We were about 15, and she said, where are you going to go to college? And I'm like, I don't know. I had no idea. I was a good student. I had good grades, but I had no idea I was going to college. And she said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to fly airplanes. And she said, okay, well, let me see. And she found Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And she's like, look, you can go here. You can get a degree. You can get your ratings. You can do it all. And it was a catalog. I mean, this is how long ago it was. You had to write. You had to mail to them that you wanted an application, and they'd mail you back the application. Everything was done through, the slow, regular mail.
Snail mail.
Snail mail.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember filling out college applications with a pen and mailing it in.
And so I got an application, and when time came, I applied, and I got accepted. But I also was very nervous to leave my family. My dad passed away when I was 14, and so I was very close with my mom and my sisters, and I had a boyfriend at the time, and I'm like, I don't think I could leave. So I stayed, and I went to junior college, and I was not a very happy person. I don't think anybody liked being around me. I worked, and I went to school, and I just wasn't doing what I wanted to be doing. And exactly a year later, they called and said, you're still accepted. If you'd like to come, we'd love to have you. And we figured out a way that I could go.
That's amazing. All of it, really, just the fact that you had this mentor in your life that showed you the way and did not doubt your dream of becoming a female pilot. And then the opportunity may have felt missed, but then it opened up for you again the second time. And I know that feeling when you know you're not doing the right thing and you know you're kind of getting off track. It's like this pit in your stomach and just nothing's aligning. And it does make you moody.
I was miserable, and
So,
nobody
yeah.
wanted to be around me.
You weren't in alignment. Your
Yeah.
soul was trying to tell you,
Yeah, you need to go do this.
go do this.
Yeah.
Which is super intuitive to even listen to that, though, because there are so many people that have that and they go, no, this is the path I'm on now. And they just keep trekking through, those waters where you're like, no, let me go explore. Let me take this step.
Yeah.
And
Well, that call really helped. They're like, you're still accepted. Do you want to come?
So you were about what age during this time?
I was 19
Okay.
when I left.
So still a teenager.
Yeah, still a teenager. I was still living at home. I didn't know anything. I didn't really do much of my own stuff. I didn't even know how to do laundry when I got to college, which is hilarious. My mom still makes fun of me for that. But
You're like, this chick's going to go fly a plane,
But-
but she
She's
may
never
not know
done laundry.
the whites don't need to be separated from the darks, but that's okay.
Right? Yeah. So and then got it all together and I left and
Brave.
yeah.
Really brave.
Yeah. I drove off crying my eyes out when I left my mom
Yeah.
and went to Arizona and there was moments that I didn't think it was the right decision because I was just so homesick.
Yeah.
Like, so homesick. But I just kept going and actually I did come back the first semester and tried to quit. I was like, I can't go back. I can't do it. I had messed up a check ride and it wasn't a big deal. I just had to do some more flying and like redo that part of the check ride. But I was just so done. I came back for Christmas and I said, I don't know if I'm going back. And my mom said, that's fine. But if you come back, you have to either have a job or go to school here or, you can't just be doing nothing. And she said, but I didn't raise any quitters.
Ooh,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. With that one.
I was like,
slide that one right in there.
Yeah.
so what you going to do, Joanie?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. So
Yeah.
I went back. And I mean, I was still homesick. I talked to my mom every day, like probably an hour a day. I missed everybody. I did it. And I went back and I, passed that check ride and I went on to get all my ratings and my degree. And I was there for a total of 5 years.
Wow. I mean, what a testament to being brave and courageous, because those are real feelings that you had. I love that you're being so raw and honest. There was a lot of back and forth and questioning and all those things, but I still pushed through.
Yeah.
I still did it.
I still did it. I stayed there for 5 years because I graduated in 3 and then I flight instructed. I taught other people how to fly while I was there.
What a cool experience.
Yeah. It was very interesting. Some days were kind of scary,
Oh.
but it was fun.
I can only imagine. I'm sure
Yeah.
you've got 1,000 stories.
Once I got done with that, I applied at a smaller airline and I got hired at 24 years old. And I was shocked because I wasn't the youngest one in my class, but I was the second to youngest. And everybody's like, what? You're 24? They were very surprised. And I went on to stay there for most of my career. And then now I'm at a major airline.
And how about just being like, was there more other women?
So in that class, I was 2 of us, 2 women.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. But I was used to it because even as being an instructor, there wasn't a lot of women. But but we had a few. I mean, like if you look at it, 6% of airline transport pilots are women, which is not a lot.
Yeah, but look at you. You did it. You were told, no,
Yeah.
women don't do this.
Yeah, women don't do this.
And maybe, you were one of 2 at times, but
Yeah.
you were there.
And it has gotten better. There's more than
Mhm.
2 in the class, and I love it when there's more than just me. There was moments when I was the only female in the class.
Mhm.
So can you share with us how many miles you've actually flown?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. Like a lot.
I thought like last year or like months
how
ago
many
you hit.
Hours?
Yes.
Oh.
Sorry, I said
Yeah,
miles.
you said miles. I have
No,
over
let's go hours.
I have over 10,000 hours.
That is fascinating. Think about that for a minute. It's a lot.
A lot. I spent a lot of time up there.
And you have no fear.
No, actually, that's probably like my favorite place to be. It's very calming to me. It's like there's not, it's just you and one other person up there. If you like the person, it's great. And I can get along with most anybody.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
You're one of the most easygoing, humble. Like, I didn't even know you were a pilot when I first, started interacting with you. You just don't brag
Yeah,
about
no,
it. You're a very humble person.
yeah. I'm like at school pickups with my kids. I normally am in normal clothes, and sometimes I have to be in my uniform. And people are like, what are you wearing?
What do you do?
Came from work. You do what?
So I want to ask a question because I do hypnotherapy work, as you know, and I have clients who have a major fear of flying, and not just clients, but friends and family. And I know there are people listening to this who are so afraid to fly, and they're probably like, what are you even talking about right now? So Can you just give us a little something to bring that anxiety down for anyone who's a little elevated right now?
One of the things I think about, like, let's say you're driving, you're on the freeway, you have no control over those other people. They may or may not be following the rules. They may be speeding, they may not. But there's so many more of them on the road with you. When you're up in the air, we have someone who's telling us where to go, what altitude to fly. We can't be at the same altitude crossing each other. They're telling us which way to turn, who gets more controlled up there. And I read some statistic that you could be born on a plane and live on a plane till you're 85 and never have an accident.
Yeah, think about those crazy drivers you see on the freeway that are just like going back and forth between the lanes, passing everybody. And I thought about that before when I'm driving. Like, I have no control over.
Yeah.
And what about like bad weather though? Because, you know, everyone hates turbulence. I mean, there are some people that I've sat next to and they're like, this is fun. And I'm like, I mean, I've flown a lot and I still don't think it's fun, but I don't freak out anymore. And I will say though, and I think having gotten to know you on such a personal level, knowing that this is your job and this is what you go to, you know, pretty much on a daily basis, it's definitely eased some of that fear for myself. And so, you know, what would I tell somebody who's like, no, but the turbulence and the bad weather and all those other things?
As far as like the weather, we have certain weather limitations that we can and cannot fly in. And I mean, we can fly in a lot of things, but if the crosswind's too high or even the wind velocity is too high, we won't go.
Okay.
And then, you know, as far as like if it's raining, we have call it performance for if the runway is wet or dry and the weight of the airplane. So there's a lot of factors that go into if we're going to go or not. Say it's snowing and you see snow building up on the wings. Well, we have to go get de-iced and put some anti-ice on there and so that we can have a short window that we could take off in. And if it's really bad, we actually, at one company I worked at, we actually had a policy where you go to the window, to a row in the back and look out the window to make sure. And then you run back up and you have to take off in like 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Doing that.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of safety protocol in place and we are trained very well. We go through a rigorous training program at each airline and then we go back every year to be retrained on it and go through, you know, any emergencies that would happen. I hope that would make everyone feel better. And
yeah, again, it sounds like it's just all very controlled.
Yes.
We get reports of where the turbulence is and we try to avoid it at all costs. You know, we don't want to be in it either. You guys don't want to be in it. We don't want to be in it either.
Well, and I think you said something to me one time, I'm pretty sure it was you. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but where, you know, the turbulence sometimes is almost like if you were driving your car and you hit like a little bit of a pothole or something. It's not something that is so crazy.
It could be like that, but there is some turbulence that is really bad. We try to avoid it. There's so many weather reports and turbulence reports that we have access to. At a major airline, you have dispatchers who also are looking at that, trying to find you the best altitude. You have other people flying it. We always talk to each other. Hey, can you give us a ride report at this altitude? It's very controlled.
I always think I'm afraid on this, you know, 1 hour flight. Some of these people on here, the flight attendants, the pilots, like they're going 14 hours sometimes and back and forth. And I'm like, if they can get up every day and walk on here feeling safe and secure, what do I have to worry about?
And that comes with too. I mean, I have 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
To me, it's just this is what I do. I just make sure I do my job to the best of my ability and look at all the reports available to me and make sure that we're making good decisions. And there's two of us up there doing it. So it's not just like, hey, I'm going to do whatever I want.
So another really cool thing about your job is you get to go all over the place. I mean, we actually just connected in Maui. It was so cool.
So fun.
I was in Maui on my one of my husband's work trips with him, and Joanie's texting me, I'm going to be, you know, in between flights there, or what would you call it?
A layover. I have a layover.
Same thing as what we call it. And we got to meet up, and I got to see her in Maui, and I just thought, wow, what a cool career that you have.
Yeah, it was really fun. Like some places you go and some that they're not as great and you're away from your family and stuff, but then you have those moments and you're like, oh, this is what I did this for. We joked the first time I flew to Honolulu, I joked with my sister. I'm like, all right, I've done it. That's it. I flew to Hawaii. Now what? You know, and she's laughing. Like, okay, I'm done.
Check.
There's really cool places like that, and you get to explore, and you're getting paid to be there to do these things.
Restaurants, and just kind of get to see the architecture in different cities. I think that would be really an upside of the job.
Yeah, that's the upside. And for moms, like I have mom friends that get really jealous about this. They're like, you get time away from your kids in a hotel room without your husband. I'm like, yeah.
Yes, I do. I work hard for that.
Yeah, that sounds lovely, actually.
Yeah, and at first I couldn't stand leaving them, and now I'm like, oh, this is a little break for me.
I actually wanted to ask you a little more about that because most traditional families, and this is not all families, but thinking about how long you've actually been flying, we think about the nuclear family. And so being the woman who's leaving, because normally we're looked at as the nurturers and the caretakers. And so what was that like, making that transition to going, like, I'm the one that's leaving for multiple days and traveling wherever, they're sending you?
It was actually met my husband at my job. He worked on the ground and he noticed me, and he actually stalked me for a little bit. I didn't know, not in a bad way stalking, but
That's cute.
he like knew, he found out my name and he knew when I would come in, and he'd come to our plane. I thought he was saying hi to the captain and the flight attendant because he went to school in that area and they all knew each other. And
No,
but
he
really it
wanted
was me.
to- Yep.
Yeah. I found out later that he wanted to actually date me. And so he asked somebody if I would date a ramper, as they call the ground people. And I'm like, well, yeah, but who is it? And then they told me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. So when I started, I put it all together. I'm like, oh yeah, he's a really nice guy. So we started dating, and we eventually got married pretty quickly, like a year and a half after we started dating.
Oh, that is quick. Yeah.
Got married. We just clicked.
When you know, you know.
Yeah, we were in our, like, I was 27 and he was 28, and we were both just kind of ready for that. And so we got married, and we decided we wanted to have a family, which was kind of a hard decision. I always knew I wanted kids, but I was like, how are we going to do this? And so we had our first kid, and we lived close to my mom, who, like, without my whole village, I could not do what I do. So my mom lived there, my sister lived there, and so my mom would be the caretaker of my daughter. She retired to take care of my nephew and my daughter. They're the same age.
Wow.
You need a village.
Yeah, she's the number one in my village, but I have many people.
That's important.
that I
for
couldn't
us
do it
working
without.
mamas. You need help.
Yeah. And so it was funny when I first left her. I stayed at home till she was about 4 or 5 months old. And the first time I left, it was hilarious. I made a whole schedule, and I called my husband probably every hour, that I could. And he was just overwhelmed. But by the time we had the second kid, he got really good at it. We only have two.
Awesome.
And he just took to it. He had more of a regular 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
Monday through Friday kind of thing. So when my mom wasn't helping, he was doing the weekends, and it was definitely a lot. We had some growing pains, and
Yeah.
you know.
You could not have done it without them.
No,
Yeah.
they helped a lot, and he got really good at it, and he's really good at it now. He gets more weekdays off now, and so he does a lot of the driving and taking care of them. And
So important when you have a dream that you want to go after, to hopefully bring a spouse into your life that is going to support that dream,
yeah,
because that it's such an important piece that if you didn't have that, it could all go away.
yeah, he was very supportive. I mean, there was moments after our first kid was born that he's like, "Do you really still want to do this?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "There's no way you could put me in a 9 to 5. I wouldn't know how to do that. I've never done it. I said, I actually get more time with my children doing this than if I did a 9 to 5. And
Wow.
he looked at it. He's like, yeah, you're kind of right. You do.
And when you are filled up, you can give so much more
Yeah.
to your kids. So, I mean, if that would just be soul crushing for you to do anything other than
Yeah.
being a pilot, and you just wouldn't be the awesome mom that I see you be with your
Oh,
kids.
thank you.
Did not have that.
And what a great testament to just like a good marriage also, because obviously no marriage is super perfect. And some people don't even have these conversations. They just kind of go throughout and they're miserable. Like the man is stewing on this, or whatever. He's not communicating. She's thinking something else. And so the fact that you guys were able to have a conversation about it, you got to be honest. He figured out what he had to do on his end. Again, there may have been growing pains along the way.
Yeah.
That happens in every marriage. But here you are still together and raising a beautiful family. Your daughter's in high school now. So this has been going on for a while.
Long time.
Yeah, for a long time. And now you're mentoring other women who are coming into this line of work
Yes.
and may have families or thinking about having families, and you're giving them advice and sharing your experience.
I'm part of a program I get to mentor other female pilots, and it's really neat to impart my wisdom and how I've gotten here. It's
That's super cool, especially especially because I love when I hear about people making career changes even later in life and knowing that that's still accessible to you. So again, those boundaries and limitations sometimes that we put on ourselves or think these invisible boundaries, you know, that are out there. And it's like, no, if you want to do it. And I think Amelia Earhart, actually, I know she has another quote that says something like, I don't have it right in front of me, but it's something like, you know, I wanted to do it, so I did it. I mean,
that sounds
do
like
it.
Yeah.
Amelia Earhart.
You know,
What about
it's amazing.
Yeah. I love that part of helping other women do it, because I want everybody to do what you said fills their cup. And, you know, if they're unhappy and this is going to make them happy, I want to help them figure out a way to do it and show them that it can be done. It's not easy. Like you said, there was, you know, we've had our ups and downs, and there are moments when I'm not the greatest mom. Like, you know, I'm very tired from trying to do all the things.
Yeah. I think as moms, we just can feel so pulled in multiple directions.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes to keep the focus and to do something that's just for us, that fills us up.
Yeah.
But it is so important.
And as you guys are saying all this, I'm thinking back to something you said again about like being in the air and being in this calm environment where I feel like it's almost like a very present moment kind of thing, because when you're in that cockpit, I would imagine that your focus really has to be on what you are doing. So all these things that might be happening in your life, you know, there's a time where you have to go, I can't even let my mind go there.
It's exactly what happens.
And you get into like a meditative state.
Into like, you know, you know what you have to do up there, and you know it's very important. You know, you're in charge of a lot of people's lives back there. You're getting paid to do this. You were trained to do this. And so you have to do that and be focused. And if you're not going to be focused, don't go to work that day. But it's for me, it's very easy to walk in there and I'm at work now and this is what I'm doing. And it doesn't hurt that you get to turn off your phone.
Yeah.
No one can get a hold of you.
Nope.
So,
Mom is out of reach.
I'm out.
Joanie, one of the things when I first met you, your mindset was so positive and so encouraging and so uplifting. And I want to really get into also another aspect of your life that has really helped you to stay awake and alert and focused, and all these blessings that you have in your life. Like, you talk about them and you make things happen. So Greta kind of mentioned, you know, Joanie's Jet Setters.
Yeah.
And this was a group that we sort of formed. Was it during COVID?
It was like after things had opened up again, and we were all kind of so isolated, right? And you brought us out together at a park.
Yeah, and I made an exercise workout for you and
kicked my butt.
I made you guys get up early. That was
move. Yeah, it was
a bunch
cold.
of whiners.
Oh yeah,
it was cold. There was like ice a little bit on the blades of grass. Maybe at least it felt like it.
I wasn't always like that. I had a lot of negativity. I felt bogged down by being a mom, being a pilot, trying to be a good wife. Like, I felt like I had to do it all, and I was not doing a good job. You know, I had moments like that. And I think during COVID, I had time because I did take some time off of work. My husband worked and I didn't during that time. And I had a lot of time to focus on finding myself and getting in a better mood. And a lot of people didn't like COVID. I got so much time with my kids. I had every day. I didn't have to think about, I got to leave tomorrow. So that was really a time for me to focus on them and focus on our family, the four of us. And I would start working with this program. It's called I Am, and anybody could join it. It would just got me to change my mindset. Be grateful for the things I do have, even though we're in COVID. Like, we can't go see anybody. We can't go do this. But look what I do have right in front of me. These 3 people that are so important to me. And when I have a roof over my head and I have all this stuff, and it like just changed my mindset. And I really had to look at, sometimes I would get really angry really easily. I had to look at myself, hey, that's not something you need to be mad about right now. You need to calm down. Now I can look at, like, if I'm getting in a negative space, I can look at it and be like, okay, you got to do something. So I start doing these I am statements. You know, I'm strong, I am healthy, I am capable.
That's so powerful.
Yeah. And you, like, I listened to one of your guys' podcasts with the mirror, and I was like, oh yeah, I totally do that.
Oh, good.
I do sit in the mirror and go, I am strong. I am.
So it works.
I am beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the shit works, right?
I've been doing that for a long time. So I started that program, and it really just changed me. There's this book called The Miracle Morning. You get up and you have silence in your day, and then you have your affirmations, and you can even journal, and like even just 2 minutes of exercise and visualization, all these things. And it maybe takes 10 minutes a day. And I had the time because of COVID. I mean, I didn't have an alarm clock. Nobody was telling me I had to wake up. So I started doing all that, and it changed me a lot. And I love it because now I can see if I'm being an asshole. I could see it.
Yeah,
could
you
totally
can
see it.
recognize it. You have this self-reflection now, and you have gained these tools.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not perfect. There's moments I still lose it, and
Oh, yeah.
you know,
We all do.
and I still have to go apologize. Like,
Yeah.
but I know that I need to go apologize when I do that. So I do
Yes.
it, but it really has made my life so much better being in this positive mindset.
And it just oozes out of you. You really feel it when we're with you.
Oh,
Yeah, I
thank
feel
you.
like you have this gift of, this leadership gift, first of all, because you are the leader in our group. We named it Joanie's, Jet Setters, because you're the one.
Someone has to keep you guys in line.
Yeah, seriously, I know. Sometimes we get a little naughty and we don't always listen, but we have fun. And you know what? That's the other part of this is that you come in, you got this group together, and we just kind of started following you. And then when we got out of the groove for a while, it was like, wait, how come we're not doing our morning walks anymore? And it was like something was missing. And I feel like that just goes to show what you're speaking of with doing, this miracle morning and following these rituals and these routines. They really start to become habit, and they're healthy habits.
Yeah.
And it's something that when you don't have that anymore, you realize how important it was.
Yeah, you could feel it. I could feel when I'm not doing those things, I could feel the negativity creeping back in. And
It's sneaky, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's sneaky, and it comes back, and you're like, what am I doing? When you
Yeah.
reflect on yourself, and like, oh, I haven't been doing my gratefuls. I haven't been doing my affirmations. I haven't given myself silent time.
But it's such a reprogramming of the mind, right? Because like you said, you were not like you were born kind of this, spirited girl that had these dreams of flying and things like that, because those are big. And but then there was this other part of you that kind of struggled with this kind of innate negativity, like that was kind of the first reaction. So having to change that.
Yeah, learned behavior.
Learned
right?
behavior. So somebody introduced you to this program, and that's how you got into it.
A friend of mine, Callie Carroll, she has a Facebook page, and she does a lot of live things with all of this. And she started this program called I Am with her friend. And it has different exercises to help you get to this point of changing your mindset and just being a better person in general. And there's different stages to it.
So I just signed up for it. You were gracious enough to share the info with me. And I just started
signed
the
up
very,
too.
yeah, Greta's in too. Yay. And so we just kind of started all of this. And I did sit down to kind of start doing some of the first journaling work. And I do feel like it's a simple program to follow. So for those out there who are interested and might want to start doing something like this, we can put information in the notes how they can jump on board with this as well.
What a blessing COVID really was for you, just to have that time to redirect your life.
Yeah.
And yes, even though you were doing your dream job, but to go inward and also absolutely time with your kids. But we've talked about this before, how it's in those little moments where you can create that space we get so in the hurriedness of life.
Yep.
And you can just go on to the next day and do the next thing. And it kind of becomes like Groundhog Day. And then all of a sudden, it's been 10 years. And it's like COVID really did make us stop and sort of reevaluate.
And slow down. Yeah. Before COVID, like I had a daughter in gymnastics, a son in baseball, a job, trying to make every game, every meet, do all these things, like still hang out with my people is a lot.
And a husband and a
yeah,
dog,
my
right?
husband, yeah, and my dog. And it was a lot of things. And then all of a sudden COVID's like, hey, you guys, you got to do your, just be you. And while I miss my mom terribly. Like, I'm not going to lie, that I missed her. And I did miss our big family things. But to be able to focus on just them and just focus on, I kind of found myself during that time.
It was like a reset, I think, for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It was this time to really just sit back and go, I'm off the hamster wheel for a moment and let me just take a breath. And you had to. It was like you couldn't continue to do all the crazy things that we were doing. And again, not that all these things were bad, because like you said, you missed some of the big family gatherings, but everything was so fast paced. And we really got to put a pause in there.
I love that pause. And I do love that we went back to it all. I'm very social, so I do like seeing my people, and I do love going to their games and their meets and everything. But I have noticed that I pick and choose more where I want to go and who I want to be with. I don't know if this happened to you guys, but it really made my circle small.
Oh, yes.
It weeded out some people that I was spending time with that I didn't really
share those same values or mindset.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's different now. I think about, oh, do I really want to go do that? No, I don't. I'm just going to stay here.
There's a book called The Best Yes. And I feel like that's what it kind of allowed people to do. It's like, what is my best yes right now? Am I just saying yes because that's what I normally do? And I'm just, it's just time that I'm feeling? Or like when you really think about, why am I saying yes to this? Like, is this going to add value to my life? Is it meaningful? Is it aligned with who I want to be and where I'm going in my life? Like, those are the yeses that I'm choosing now.
Yeah, exactly. You get to pick who and what you want to do. And I think COVID also made me think that.
Yeah, I think I need to even get back to that again, because I think I did really good like you after COVID. Circle definitely got smaller, but that life has really picked up again. This last holiday season, I said yes to everything. I think because I was just so happy things are like back to normal.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think it got really fast paced again.
So Joanie, as I'm listening to your whole story about everything we've talked about today, there's another Amelia Earhart quote that I just feel like I have to read because it's just so powerful, and you are such an example of this. Her quote says, "Never interrupt someone doing what you said couldn't be done." And so I just feel like all the I ams, the time that you had during COVID to reconnect to yourself, figure out who you were as an individual, just connecting with your nuclear family.
Little Joanie.
Little Joanie.
That was like, no, I'm going to just do it. Screw
Yes.
you, naysayers.
Yes. I mean, little Joanie. Like little Joanie on a jet. And she's just like, I'm going to fly this plane. One day I'm going to fly this plane. And so, gosh, I don't know. Your story to me is just fun and powerful and inspiring. And I think that there are women out there that actually sit down and think like, what would it be like to fly a plane? I mean, I know my husband's always like, I'd love to learn to fly. And I'm like, no, it's dangerous, And that's the thing.
That's not my dream.
That's not my dream.
Everybody has their own dreams.
Yeah.
God put that in your soul.
Yeah.
And you did it.
Yep. He did.
And you went within as well. Like you had your dream and you conquered that dream. And then you also did the inner work, which I think is really admirable.
Yeah. Which needed to be done.
Girl, we all have work that needs to be done. Hence our podcast, sharing stories, because it's a learning journey. And so then once you get old enough, and I'm not saying you can't have some of this when you're younger, but let's be real. When you're in your 40s, something really does happen and you really reflect on life and you've had experiences, right? Like, I mean, especially in your story, you're talking about losing a dad at 14. I mean, there's some heavy being a woman, trying to figure out college. I mean, you didn't even have a plan. Somebody sat down with you and guided you through that, thankfully, right? So when we really think about all of these things, for you to be sitting here right now with us, having this moment, sharing all these experiences, we are motivated and we are inspired and we love you for who you are. And we're so grateful for the times that we've spent together on walks on the ground. And I hope to be a passenger in your plane one day.
Yes, someday.
Because I just, you know what, I will be honest with you. I do brag about you. So if your ears ever ring or you feel a little itch, I'm like, oh, my friend Joanie might be flying that plane that you're on this weekend. I'm just saying.
It is pretty cool. It is bragging rights.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So
It is really fun when someone comes on my plane that I know. It hasn't happened very often, but so you guys got to get up there with me.
we're going to book one. We're just going to do that as a That's My Girl podcast adventure. We are going to soar with you somewhere.
Let's soar with Joanie. I love that.
Soaring with Joanie. That's what we're doing.
Really be Joanie's jet setters.
Yeah, we're going to have shirts on. We're actually going to have shirts. We're going to do the whole get up.
I wanted to tell you guys too, I really love what you're doing. I've listened to all of your podcasts. I'm a huge fan. I might be your number one fan, but I listen to them right when they come out. And I just love your guys' message, hearing your stories, and then talking about your daughter going to college. I was sitting there crying with you because, it's pretty soon that's going to be me. I just think it's so great what you guys are doing. And I really appreciate you guys letting me come on here and tell my story too. We couldn't do it without each other. We all need to lift each other up because I'm not the only female pilot, and they are also my other village that keep me doing what I'm doing. And so I just want to say you guys are doing a good thing here. I love it.
We love you, Joanie.
Yes, we
Thank you
do.
for coming on and sharing your story. And I do think you are such an inspiration to so many.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you liked what you heard and we're your girls,
please share and add a review on iTunes so we can continue to grow our circle. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at That's My Girl Podcast.